on feelings and the stranger inside. The first reading is from the 11th tradition. My name is April and I'm an addict.
Hi, April.
Hi, family. Our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. If anyone here represents a media agency, please contact Mark N. Our unity statement. The members of the North Central Indiana area of Narcotics Anonymous welcome you to the 3rd annual We Grow with Love convention. We would like to thank you for joining with us in the celebration of recovery. We are deeply grateful to Narcotics Anonymous and find great joy in being able to express our gratitude here with you, our family. In Narcotics Anonymous, we are certain that when we come together to share our lives and our love with each other, a miracle happens. Our recovery takes hard work, courage, and commitment. Those are the things that carry us through as we seek the spiritual growth that comes from working the 12 steps. Never alone, we do this together and for each other, knowing that we need each other because more than anything else, we grow with love. The preface to the basic text begins, "The full fruit of a labor of love lives in the harvest, and that always comes in its right season. For us, our season has come." I've asked an addict to read just for today.
My name's Greg Kay. I'm an addict.
Hi, Greg.
Just for today, my thoughts will be on my recovery, living and enjoying life without the use of drugs. Just for today, I will have faith in someone in NA who believes in me and wants to help me in my recovery. Just for today, I will have a program. I will try to follow it to the best of my ability. Just for today, through NA, I will try to get a better perspective on my life. Just for today, I will be unafraid. My thoughts will be on my new associations, people who are not using and who have found a new way of life. So long as I follow that way, I have nothing to fear.
Thanks, Greg. Again, this workshop is on feelings and the stranger inside. Our first speaker is Marcy from Chicago. Help me welcome Marcy, please.
Hi, my name's Marcy. I'm an addict. And I'm really nervous now. I wasn't nervous until about 15 minutes ago, which is really good for me. Usually it's weeks before. But anyway, I was just up in my room and I was trying to think about this topic. And I kind of thought about it yesterday, and the way it came to me at home was, it said, feeling feelings, the stranger within. And I was thinking about it, and when I got to NA, I just kind of had one feeling, and I just felt bad all the time. You know, I mean, I really didn't know, like, feelings of happiness, that's for sure, but I also didn't know feelings of, like, grieving or loss or, you know, really I just felt bad all the time, and I felt bad about everybody else, too, and pretty much bad about the world, and I just was, you know, I definitely wouldn't have known a feeling if someone had written it down, showed it to me, explained it to me, and then said, "You're having it." I would have just sat there and been like, whatever. And I think that in recovery, one of the biggest miracles that's happened to me is, and it took a little while, but I started having some feelings, you know, and I can honestly say today that when I have them, you know, it's not the stranger within. I don't know, you know I still have things I haven't experienced in the range of, like, feelings. But I can also say that I felt a lot of things, and after having used for 15 years and come to NA, I feel like I've like grown a lot in a short time in comparison to how much time I had spent not pretty much living at all. And when I first came to NA, I started having feelings, like, in a big way, like, all the time. You know, I was just, like, feeling everything 10 times, whatever it was worth. You know, things would happen in early recovery, like, let's say I broke up with a boyfriend, or more likely he broke up with me, and, you know, I would have this feeling, you know, of intense. It was intense. It was like I'd be driving down the street, you know, 80 miles an hour, wishing I would hit a pole, you know, and this was after I was clean. And at that point, I had thought that this was my new life and that every time I felt something, it was going to feel this intense and I would just be insane forever. And I just, I'd have to be really careful and not have too many feelings because really it wasn't a really easy-going kind of experience at first. And what I realized today is that if a year into recovery somebody left me, really, it was a lot more than them leaving me. It was really them leaving me, the last 10 people before that leaving me, me leaving me, 15 years before that. And, and so everything was just like times 100. And when I have sponsees today, I tell them, I'm like, believe me, I would not still be here if it didn't get any better. So today, I actually kind of at times just have feelings, and they're based on like what's happening that day. It's not like 30 years of like hefty bags following me down the street going, okay, you're going to feel this and you're going to feel it good. And I also feel like recovery has been about way down deep inside. There was a lot of pain that I'd been sitting on for a long time and spending a real lot of energy avoiding. And now I feel that, for instance, when things happen to me today, a lot of times I go through it and it's really just about that thing, which takes a real big load off and doesn't make me quite as afraid to kind of live my life. I still have a lot of fears, but at least one of my fears today isn't that when I do have feelings, they're going to kill me. They're going to just drag me down. People are going to think I'm insane. I actually, in recovery, went to see a psychiatrist based on the recommendation of a therapist, and because they thought I had like borderline personality disorder, and I'm like, well, what addict doesn't? And so, and I'm a victim. I used to love being more of a victim, and so I was like, yes, I have a disorder. I have another reason why I feel things like this way, and I didn't want to go there and get drugs or anything, but I wanted this like doctor to tell me that I was a little off and that's why when I would feel things, I would feel them like I was never going to come back. And he basically just said to get a life and that I didn't have a borderline personality disorder, and I was bummed. I was like thinking, oh cool, I have another disorder. But I didn't, and now when I look back on it, I went in to see this guy and he just sat there for 1 hour and just bawled, and I just was like heaving, like, and I'm sure that day I was feeling something very intensely, and basically, I just think it was a culmination of things. Even in recovery, some days I choose not to feel things. I was just outside smoking a cigarette when a friend of mine pointed out that, that's my thing that I do still sometimes, to cut off my feelings. But, I'm in a process, and God knows there's a lot of things that I do today that are so much better for myself than before. Also, I just was going to say, too, that, just coming to this retreat, I have a lot of feelings. The first year I came here, I was terrified of everybody, and I walked around isolating, even within groups. I just kind of hid out, and I was really afraid. And last year I came and I knew a few people, and I felt a little bit better about myself. And this year I kind of really, and I see people here that I only see here, and I've only seen for 3 years for one weekend. And, and I have a feeling of like real joy. I tell my friends, like, you have to come here, it's great, and I don't talk to everyone and I don't know everyone, but I know that when I go into that to hear the main speaker tonight, like, I'll remember the feelings I had last year and the year before that of, like, how did I get here? I feel very, very grateful, and I also feel a lot calmer. I mean, even though I'm sitting here shaking a little bit, I couldn't have even done this, 2 years ago. I could never have sat up here and made any sense to any of you or to myself. So that's kind of growth. And the last thing I'll share about was, because I always like to complicate things, when I was going to come down here, I was going to get a dictionary and look up the difference between feelings and emotions, because I always want to really, like, get in there. And but I didn't do it because, I'm not really sure what all the difference is and everything. I know I'm a very emotional person, but that's a really good thing. I used to be told, you're too emotional, get over it, and now I'm like, you know what? I am so grateful. I have emotions. I have them all day long. I have them all the time, you know, and I don't know exactly what the difference between that and feelings are, but the thing about my feelings today is that a lot of times I get the opportunity to think before I act on them. A lot of times they have to do with other people. And before I could ever, when I first got clean, I would have a feeling and then I would act. And then later on down the line, I would get to think about it. You know, like what happened, how did it happen? Oh my God, I've done it again. Why don't I have any friends? Well, I tell them all to fuck off all the time. You know, or just because I was just always reacting to everything. There's that triangle that says think, feel, and act. And really, I was always feeling, acting, and thinking about it later. And today, like, I have feelings, and sometimes I just have to, sometimes I just have to let them go, because there are a lot of times about fear. But when they have to do with other people today, I try to take a few minutes, or I try to go off with someone and say, I'm having these feelings, and kind of see what they are. You know, I'm not really used to this stuff. And sometimes when I take that little time out and think about it, it usually doesn't have a whole lot to do with everybody else and what they're doing. It usually has something to do with me or about the way I feel about myself. And I still have a lot of low self-esteem, and I'm working on that really hard. But sometimes I just feel tired, and I feel like a lot of my feelings are based on my, it's a reaction to that. It's my own, walking around not feeling like I'm okay. But today, at least, I don't have to put all that on you guys, and I feel pretty grateful about that. So I'm just really glad to be here, and I hope I said something, because it doesn't feel like it, but thanks for listening.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Marcy. Now I'd like to introduce to you Hector from Chicago.
That's me. My name's Hector Manetic. All right. I'm a little nervous too. I think I'm more scared. Because I don't know. You see, so I don't know. I just in front of strangers. I was never really that good. I was always kind of shy and scared to speak my mind in front of anybody. But feelings. One good thing about what I learned in recovery, and only in recovery, was that no matter what I feel, always share it. Always. Whether it's good or bad. And I have a lot of bad feelings. I mean, the way I feel about myself, my worst thing is lack of self-acceptance. For many of years, I looked in the mirror and I thought, oh, what a piece of shit, and you're not worth it and all this. And I still feel that today in recovery. But, my sponsor always told me share it, you people told me share it, and don't keep it in. And I've used 4 or 5 times since I've been clean. And basically it was because I felt how I felt about myself, and I just couldn't get over it, man. And I thought, man, if I'm going to feel this bad about myself for the rest of my life, I'm just going to use, because it's just easier to deal with, But when I started to share it, and share my feelings and say, look, I feel like this and I feel like that, it started to lessen, and it wasn't a secret no more. It wasn't my own little secret in my own little head, and then I start to really listen in meetings and hear other people share about wow, they got the same feelings, and no, I'm not the only one who feels this way, I'm not the only one who feels less than, and I'm not the only one who was done this to them, or I done this to somebody else, and for a lot of times I like to, I like to compare myself to other people, and either I'm better than you or I'm less than you. There's no middle, It's hard to find a middle. There's sometimes a middle, but it's very hard, I'm trying to learn how to do that, but and usually I'm less than everybody. Usually, it's and I like to compare myself to other men, look what he's got, and everything looks grand over there, and over here, poor little me, I've been dealt a bad hand, and, so, and I feel inadequate, but I share about that, and it's not my fault, it's just that I grew up, somehow I heard a few messages, negative messages, and I took them to heart, and I believed it, but the thing is today I know it's all in my head, I know it, you know, it's all in my head. There's nothing wrong with me. The only thing that's wrong with me is the way I perceive things, you know, and I, you know, I cry myself, you know, because I beat myself up, you know, and I live in the negative, you know, instead of being positive and enjoying life for what it is, you know, and there's a lot of good out of life. But yeah, I mean, I'm a stranger within, man. Sometimes, you know, for a long time, my whole life, I was like always a different person with everybody. That was my game. Whoever I was with, I was a different person, you know. And see, I'm Puerto Rican and Irish, so my one half of the family was like the Puerto Rican side, and the other side was the Irish side, and they didn't get along. So I was like in the middle of this. And so when I was with this side of the family, I acted one way, and I approved of certain things. And when I was this side of the family, I didn't want to cause waves, you know. I just wanted everybody to like me, you know, and accept me. So it was right there, man. From a kid, man, I started to I took the identity of whatever needed to be taken to survive, not to be pointed out, you know, and stuck out in the crowd, just to lay back in the back and just be there, you know, and survive, and no waves, and everything's okay, you know. So, you know, I went to school and I did the same thing, you know. I acted however I thought you wanted me to act. That's the way I acted, as long as I wasn't going to be pointed out, you know, and I can sit in the back and just coast through life. So I get into recovery, and I brought that shit with me, you know. That's what I did, you know. It dawned on me. I'm like, why do I feel like such a freak? Why can't I just be myself, you know? And it dawned on me that, man, for my whole life, this is how I acted, and it's going to take a while to kind of get rid of it, you know, and work through it, you know. And so the strange, you know, when I had like 2 years clean, I went through this big identity crisis. You know, I mean, it's like I was freaking out, man. I didn't know what I was and who I was and how I felt about myself, you know, and I didn't know what was going on. I was freaking out. What am I, you know? Am I Puerto Rican? Am I Irish? You know, am I smart? Am I this? Am I a tough guy? Am I a sissy? You know, what's going on? You know, I did so many things using. You know, I couldn't get straight. You know what I was. You know, and I felt like I had to take on a role, like a movie. Like either I had to be a tough guy, you know, or I had to be a spiritual giant. You know, or I had to be the greatest lover in the world. It was like a movie, you know. I had to find some sort kind of identity for myself, you know, instead of just being me and going through life, you know, and being a regular person. I never knew how to do that, you know. I shot dope, you know, and I ripped people off, you know, and I never felt, you know. And I come into recovery and I got to work for a living and, you know, try to be honest. So there's a big stranger within. There still is. You know, I go to school now, you know, and I sit in the middle of this classroom of these so-called normal people. Man, and sometimes I feel so raw and so naked. You know, I feel like a freak. That's what I feel like, you know, man. My mind just starts going. It's like, oh, you're not like these people, you know, you're a freak, and, you know, they're gonna find you out, man, you know, and you shouldn't be here, and, you know, who you fooling? You know, 4 years later, but it's gotten a lot better. It has a lot better. And today, my worst feeling is I'm trying, like, not to have to be extraordinary, you know, just be here, you know, just be here, you know, be regular, and know every day isn't exciting, you know, and it isn't a movie, it's just life. And sometimes it's boring, you know, and sometimes I don't get the girl I want, you know, and sometimes my car don't start, you know, and all that other stuff, you know, and it's not all that serious, you know. But for a long time it was, so. But I try to feel my feelings, you know, and I think the most important way of feeling my feelings is talking about them, saying this is it, what's up, and that's the start, you know, and you know, and not act out so much, you know, because, you know, just try to be. I mean, like I came here, and when I was coming, when I was leaving Friday, I almost changed my mind. Oh, I'm not going. It's gonna be boring. I'm not gonna go sit in no woods with some people I don't know. Please, I'm gonna miss something in the city, you know. You know, and that's what I was thinking to myself, you know. And the bottom line was I was gonna do the same old shit. Go to a club, sit there, obsess over every woman there, you know, and you know, and go home and think, well, you know, all right, I did the same thing again, you know, what a life, you know. I stood at the club till 3 in the morning with, you know, a bunch of maniacs, almost got in a fight with 2 guys, and I'm supposed to be spiritual, you know. Real, you know, so I came here, you know, and got away, man, from it, from the rat race. But, yeah, I enjoy doing things like this. It's just that, man, my mind is, it's weird, you know, it's just, it's a trip sometimes, the way I think, the way I want to stay in the same old familiar pain. See, you know, I know what the solution is. Meditate, pray, write, go to meetings, talk about it. I know all that stuff works. I've done it. It works. But for some reason, I start slacking off when I feel good. When I feel real good about myself, like, okay, now I'm ready. You know, I do all that stuff. I feel great. I'm ready now to go into society, and I don't, you know, and I don't think I ever have to work another step or meditate anymore because I feel good about myself. You know, before you know it, I'm backed up in the corner with all these feelings, and then it's so hard to get back into the groove, you know, of recovery. You know, and I want so bad to just be like this normal person who's understanding, accepting, you know, honest with myself and other people, straightforward, tell you how I feel when I feel it, you know, and just, that's all I really want out of life. That's all I ever wanted. When I used to sit in my bed after a run for like a week, I used to say to myself, God, why can't I just be like the guy next door who has a family and works, and I swear I'll be happy, you know, I can't take this no more. It's all I used to always say to myself, I remember. And here I am, and now, you know, basically that's what I'm doing. I'm living life like he lived. And here I am, and now I'm ungrateful because it's not exciting, you know, like the movies, you know, and then I have to feel. I didn't know I had to feel, you know. What the hell is that? You know? So, but that's all I want, really. I mean, my mind tells me I want more. My mind tells me I want the perfect body, the best job. You know, I have to have a degree. I have to finish college with a degree, or else I'm a piece of shit now. Because if I quit, you know, my ego won't allow it. My mind tells me all this. All that outside stuff needs to be there for everything to be okay. That's what my mind says. But the reality of it, and I know the reality of it, is all I need to do is work a step, meditate, and get straight with myself inside. None of that other shit matters. I know that. I know it. I've been there. You know, and that's it. All I have to do is get straight inside, and everything else will fall in place. I know that. But I forget it. You know, and I get caught up in chasing the stuff on the outside, you know. When I came into recovery, one of my biggest things was I used to go to meetings. I was looking for some woman that was gonna love me so much that everything was gonna be okay. I mean, man, I seeked that for a long time. And it dawned on me, it just hit me that this ain't going on. You know, it just was like a spiritual awakening. Like, no, I listened enough and I found out, yes, I have to learn to love myself first. You know, and that warm feeling has to come from within, from myself, you know, not from no one else, because it ain't happening. So, and I know, you know, I'm glad I know all that shit today. I'm glad I know all that, because not to know that is, man, all I did was, I was in the dark, and I kept repeating the same mistake and expecting a different result. You know, and it's kind of scary. I know today what I have to do to be okay. I have to work the inside. I know that. But sometimes I'm scared, like, well, you know, it's going to be boring, but, you know, just, you know, from within, you know, and it's not boring. It's great, man. It's wonderful from within, you know. Today I feel good today. If I was back home right now, I know where I'd be, because right now I'm in a spot where I just got done with another semester of school, and I'm trying to get back into writing my second, fourth step, and I'd be home right now. What, it's about 4 o'clock. I'd be dead tired from drinking probably 20 cups of coffee, you know, and hanging out all day doing mindless activities, and then I'd be at home like kind of in the blues, and then as soon as 10 o'clock came around, it's like, okay, let's go to the club, you know, and it'd be the same old thing. I know it. I don't think it would have changed instantly this weekend. I would have been all writing in my fourth step. Everything would have been fine. So I'm glad I'm here, away from the same monotonous insanity, you know, of my own doings. No one else's but my own, you know. But man, I'm, you know, I don't know, for the newcomer, you know, I feel like a newcomer still sometimes, but you know, it's no secret. It's no secret. I used to watch these speakers and think, man, this guy's a god. He's got a year clean. How's he do it? Everything must be great with him, man, you know. I bet he doesn't have to go home and see his mother cry and all this. His life must be great, you know. He's still clean. But it ain't like that. It's nothing magical about it, man. It's simple. Work the steps. Get honest. Talk about your feelings, and it all falls in place. There's no secret. It's nothing, you know. I used to think that, but and it works, and you're gonna get what you put in, bottom line. So when you're sitting around and you're crying about this and this and that, you know, and if you're not working a step, then you know why you're crying. So, you know, you always got the chance to make a U-turn and go back and work a step and feel good, you know. But that's what I learned for myself, you know, and it's proven to be fact that I get what I put into this program. When I don't work it, I don't feel good. I need to keep a spiritual maintenance, because I'm screwed up in the head, you know, and I'm spiritually bankrupt unless I'm consciously working on something. That's the bottom line. And I'd like to be normal, you know, and be able to hang out and not work steps and not believe in a God, but it ain't going on right now. Man, for so long I lived like a raving maniac without feeling anything, and suppressing that I'm so screwed up that it needs to all be somehow peeled off and fixed and back to, you know, whatever it is. So I'm glad to be here. This program's the best thing I ever found. I had no life before I came to this program. I felt it was a constant 24-hour feeling like an alien. That's what it was. Uncomfortable in my own skin. I could not look in mirrors. I could not go past a store and look in the plate glass, because I was just disgusted with my whole being, you know. And today I can look in the mirror and I can walk with my head up, you know. And like sometimes, like Marcy said, when I feel kind of weird around other people, I know that that's my own shit in my own head, and there ain't nothing going on but the way I perceive right now. That's it. It's that simple. And I can keep moving on and show up to life even when I don't feel okay inside. So you don't have to like it to accept it, you know what I mean? Just accept it and do it. And I believe that it'll work itself out, you know. So that's what you people taught me. So, and, you know, and like I said, I'm no spiritual guide, so no one really is, as far as I know. So just keep coming back, because we're all in this together, you know. It's just life on life's terms. That's it. That's simple. So, thanks for letting me share.
Thanks.
Thanks, Hector. My name is April, and I'm an addict. Before we open the floor for sharing, I need to remind everyone that you are being taped. If you do not wish to be taped, please let me know so that we can turn the machine off. This workshop ends, bear with me, at 4:45, and we have approximately 55 minutes to share, okay? Again, I'm April, and I'm an addict, and I just want to share real briefly. 3 highs in an hour. Boy, that's nice. Feelings and a stranger inside. When I came to NA, I felt a lot of things, but I didn't know how to process them. I didn't know how to communicate them. So they stayed on the inside and would tear me up literally. Self-esteem was always an issue and always has been just from a little girl. I always have felt less than, and there's a difference between knowing what's going on in the inside and then knowing and doing something about it. NA was my vehicle to do something about it. And so for me, being someone that leans towards suicidal ideation a lot, NA in the steps and working with sponsors and doing one-on-one and talking to people about what's really on the inside literally has saved my life. Because I know that I don't have to sit at home by myself letting those emotions eat me up and end up doing something crazy. You know, I know that I can go make a meeting. I know that I can go talk to my sponsor. I know that if there's something deep, deep, deep down inside from my childhood, there's a step for that. And I can do some work on it. You know, and it doesn't make it better overnight, but for me, it will get better, and it does get better. And a lot of times it saves my life because I make it to the next day. You know, so I'm real grateful to NA. I know my feelings now. And not only am I aware of my feelings, but I'm aware of other people's feelings. Before, I could see you going through something and I wouldn't care, you know, or maybe I would care, but I wouldn't know what to do about it. Or I feel so less than I wouldn't do anything about it. But today, I can hear a fellow addict sharing. For those that have been at meetings with me, they know when I'm feeling another addict, you see it in my tears. It's nothing that I have to hide. So feeling it's like, it's not just me now. I can feel other people's stuff too, you know, and we can work this thing together. It's a we program. It's a we fellowship. I'm real grateful for NA. And I'll pass and open up the floor.
I'm an addict. My name's John. I have the perfect job. I get to carry the message. You know, that's about as perfect as it gets with, and I don't even feel that this is work. Feelings in the stranger inside. This workshop brought me back to before I walked into the fellowship and what I was when I came here, angry. You know, that's all I was a walking anger bomb. And that's all I can remember. I mean, I hated everybody and everything. Don't talk to me, don't hug me, leave me alone. I'm just here to stay off the dope, man. I don't have to do any of that other junk. Just, that's all I want. I don't want nothing else that goes with this. Now I want everything that goes with it. And my feelings and range of feelings have changed immensely, you know. Got a woman back home that tells me that I look just like her husband, except that I go to meetings and I smile, you know, something that he doesn't do, and she calls me Smiley. And I've got nicknames around here that I never got anywhere else. John, you're always happy, you're always smiling, yeah. Well, you're not around me all the time because I'm not always happy and always smiling. The one thing I want to touch down in is I've watched a lot of people grieve people dying in their families, and my mode is that I found out when I get emotional, I get angry. I still do that, you know, and I have to break that mode. I found out that about 3 months ago that my father had lung cancer, and I was just numb. I didn't feel anything. I was just numb. I was walking around in a cloud for about 3 days, and I don't know how to deal with it. You know, I didn't know what to do, so the first thing I did was ran to the tables. You know, and started sharing real early that I don't know how to cry. I don't know how I'm going to feel with this. I don't want to turn into an anger bomb over losing my dad, you know, and it's evident that for someone to smoke 2 or 3 packs of cigarettes for 30 or 40 years that, hey, it's real possible you get out of here with lung cancer, you know, and I've had immense pressure to quit smoking because of that. And I went, bottom line is that I never quit shooting dope because the dope fiend next to me dropped dead. So I'm not going to quit smoking, which is a real stupid justification. But it's my reality, I know that I have a thinking disease, and it gets better with practice. I can't make it go away. I can only train it to think a little bit more sane. And I don't know where I'm going with this, but I know that it's going to be real hard for me to grieve my father. I've looked at the steps and I've worked the steps, and nowhere in there have I seen, if you work the steps, it'll teach you how to cry. I've cried like 3 times, and every time I started to cry at a table or over something, I seemed to shut it off, but it felt good. It felt good for just that little moment. It's hard for me to think, well, if my father dies, the feelings that I'll feel that'll make me cry will be worth it. I don't want to lose my dad. And I've watched people around here lose their mother, their father, their 6 girlfriends that they had all in 1 year and lived through it, and they didn't use. And I don't have to use behind it. And I know that I've given him as much joy as I can, today. Thank God that I'm not using today, and that I can go over there and he can get excited where I am in life and want to hang around me, but still get angry that he can't do anything because he's weak. He doesn't feel good because of chemo. And what was really ironic was that everybody ran to me. My family ran to me for my advice. I'm like, oh my. I was the guy that nobody wanted to talk to, and today I'm the guy they want to ask questions about, And I guess all I can do is just be there in body, leave my mind at home and be there in body because I don't want to say something stupid, My little sister was all frantic and crying, and she's an RN, and she said, you need to be around, Dad, because your brothers are busy and this and that, and he's going to go to chemo, and she was bawling, and I'm starting to feel them feelings when I'm going to bawl, and so, my disease is, and my thinking is so crazy, I went, well, this is pretty cool, now I can call some of my old friends, and she says, what? I says, yeah, now I can go cop some weed for Dad when he feels bad with the chemo, and she's, you silly, and I just wanted her to stop crying so I didn't cry, Cover it up. Let's put a mask on real quick. Let me stop you from crying, and it'll stop me from crying. Because that's how I feel when I see somebody sit up here and cry. I cry inside. That's how I've learned to cry. And grieving is going to be hard for me. But it's a process that I need to learn how to do. I can't grieve your father or your mother. Only you can do that. That's what I've learned around here. I can't feel the pain and loss of a girlfriend or someone's boyfriend. Only they can do that. I have to feel what I have to feel. It hurts a whole lot in here to do a lot of things. I sponsor 2 guys, and I've watched them both go out and use, and it hurts. It hurts a whole bunch. I've never cried behind it, and I've watched them come back to me crying behind it and telling me, yeah, everything you said was true. And I guess I feel like a father to them. It's like, damn, why don't you listen to what I tell you? And I remind myself, I'm like, damn, my father said this to me all my life. All my life he told me, why don't you listen before you go fall on your face? It'd be so much simpler. And, it's just so ironic how many one-liners old Dad told me that fit into recovery today, And I'm really glad to be here. I'm really glad to be here. I have real mixed feelings. I have feelings like, geez, I let him down by going away for the weekend. But then again, I love myself and I love this fellowship, and I have to keep doing what I have to do. And wherever recovery takes me, when my father passes, is where God intends it to be. That's all I can do. I got into an argument with my fiance. I called her one day, and I was at work, and she said, "Did you call home?" And my mind instantly went to, it's my dad, and now I'm pissed because I wasn't there and I didn't call, and she found out before me, and I don't want to feel this, and I got angry, and it was over. And another additional phone line I had put in, and when she told me, I chewed her ass out. And she's like, she hung up, didn't want to talk, but it's wrong with you. And I had to tell her, I said, you know what, it was all out of fear. You know, I cussed you out, and I can't even believe that I even analyzed this myself. I said, I cussed you out because I was scared that there was something wrong with my father. So I took it out on you. I didn't want to own it, you know, I was scared. And I told the guy at a open talk and a dance, you know, he asked me how I was feeling. I said, I'm feeling scared. And he looked at me and he says, that's what spiritual blows me away. And I'm like, what are you talking about? For a grown man to tell me that he's afraid, you know, I get real scared around here, and I'm okay with saying I'm scared. You know, I don't have to be the tough guy. I know that when I came into this fellowship, all I had to be was who I wanted to be. You know, I wanted to be happy. I wanted people to love me. Eventually, these hugs got into the situation where I had to have hugs. If I miss enough meetings, I might not go crazy in my mind, but I'll miss the hugs, and it'll drag me back into meetings. You know, I miss being hugged. You know, I'm okay today. You know, I love John today. If I didn't love John, I wouldn't come here. I would have never got this far in recovery if I didn't start to love John. I'm just the average addict trying to help the other average addicts. You know, we're not really all that complicated. We're just addicts, and it's okay. I don't know how to do these feelings real good. You know, I'm around a lot of kids. There's a 2-year-old, my girlfriend, the youngest, and her birthday and my clean date are the exact. So when she has a birthday, you know, we celebrate birthdays together. So, you know, I'm a 2-year-old, you know, and I look at her feelings and I look at my feelings and I go, wow, she's a little bit farther ahead with hers than I am with mine, and maybe I could catch up to her someday if I keep working these steps, you know, because these kids around here, these little recovery babies, teach me a lot. Thanks for letting me share.
Thanks, John.
Hi everybody, I'm an addict. My name's Debbie. I told myself I wasn't going to share, and I get real scared when that happens to me. I've been feeling really separated from the group, partially because geographically I am separated from the group, and I didn't get to go to the workshop that I thought I needed to go to this morning, and so I've still been feeling really separated. So for those few of you who have walked up and given me hugs today, thank you. I tend to be one of the feeler addicts. So I decided I was going to share with you what's been going on for me, and that was a pretty major decision. There are a few of you maybe that, well, I don't even know what I want to share about. Keep it brief. I've been here twice now. This is the second year I've been to North Central Indiana, and I've felt a whole lot of love, and I've felt a whole lot of honesty, and I've felt a tremendous amount of acceptance, you know, between the fellowship and each other, and for an addict that comes from someplace far away, or at least from someplace where you don't know me, and to feel that instant love and acceptance. And although we'd probably like to think that it's that way in NA as a whole, it's really not. It's sometimes very difficult to make an addict feel at home. So I was asking myself this morning, I was sitting in the chapel after I'd run, and I was meditating about why I was here, and because like I need to know, and what I needed, you know, and I realized that what I needed was to take care of me, and that was what I believe why God had sent me here, was to just really take care of me. And I had an opportunity to kind of get a little preview of this workshop topic, just kind of a weird situation, and we joked a lot about what the stranger might be. And I could share real humorously about that for you, and then, you know, like I could walk out and you still wouldn't know what's going on for me. Marcy told my story, so I don't need to tell that. And For those of you who have seen my daughter, I have a new daughter. We have a couple of children, my husband and I. And I guess the scary part for me over this last few months has been the revelation that even in recovery, even with an understanding of the steps, even with a loving relationship with a God and with spiritual principles, I think there are life circumstances that face us that put us at that same dilemma of run, hide, or feel. I guess I'm trying to figure out how to say this so it'll make sense and still be in the spirit of anonymity. When my daughter was born a few days before Christmas, she was in a life-threatening situation. And being the good addict that I am, you know, my denial was like, oh, well, this is not really happening. You see, this is a normal child, and you guys are just all like screwed up. And so I'm going to just like go through the motions and do the mom thing and like trust God, and everything's going to be okay because, you know, like I have a God in my life today, and bad things don't happen to people who have gods in their life today. And as the situation worsened and the child was transported to another hospital, and I began to, it's like you kind of go into this, I call it automatic pilot. It's like I'm really grateful for the program. I'm really grateful my husband's in recovery. I watched a lot of parents in that neonatal unit go insane. I watched them not be able to take care of themselves. I watched them not be able to see reality and everything's happening just the way it's supposed to be, and like, you know, those little simple messages were real helpful for us. But what I know for me is that to wake up 3.5, 4 months later and be completely detached from the whole emotional piece of it, that really frightened me. You know, to wake up and realize that I've been telling everyone what was happening, you know, because for months after when we got home with Andrea, people will call or ask, you know, how's the baby? And we tell the story about what happened, you know, kind of like I tell my story of addiction, about what happened. And then I walk away and realize that I never told them how I felt, and I didn't tell them how I feel because that's not what they asked. You know, at least that's how I process it. And so recently it's been really about me trying real hard to talk about how I feel, to talk about how it felt as best I can. I know that I really detached from it, and I know that I got so good at detaching from it that I became really scared about that. You know, people sharing about feeling old feelings when it comes to loss, and you know, I can relate, and I guess it's not like you can recreate it sometimes. I'm not sure if I'm making sense or not. The program is wonderful, and recovery is wonderful, and yes, meetings and the steps will change your life. But there are things that life passes to us. There are circumstances that life presents us with that put us in situations where, the way it was explained to me, I'd recently someone looked at me and said, that's normal. You know, because I was so afraid it was because I was an addict. And, you know, and if it's so easy to run away from my feelings, then, oh my God, what'll be next? And what I know today is that I was scared to death. It was so scary. I was so angry. It wasn't supposed to be that way. It wasn't supposed to happen that way. To have to fight with personnel at a hospital to say, no, that's my baby. It's not yours. You will not administer that treatment without my permission. You know, to have 7-8 days from delivering a baby and realize that I felt like I was a visitor and not her mom, you know. And to go like months and not feel that, it's just really, really scary for me. That's how I was when I got here, folks. And someone shared earlier that, you know, they're here today because they want the good stuff. And for me, you know, I'm here today because I've had the good stuff. And when I think when life circumstances presents itself and puts you in a situation and you realize, wow, it would be so easy to lose the good stuff. You know, it's just a really timely reminder for me about this disease is out to get me. And the interesting part is that I also have this way of blaming things on the disease that really don't have anything to do with the disease. that just really have to do with life on life's terms. Was joking with somebody when we were walking up here. Someone asked me how I was doing or said hello or something, and I said I was fine or whatever. I mean, it was kind of one of those passing sort of comments that you make on the sidewalk. And someone else asked for a hug, and I gave him a hug, and the other person had said that that's what they were asking for too. And my comment was, well, it's a very interesting way to ask for it. And then, you know, for me, the reflection back was I sat in a chapel and meditated and realized I was here this weekend to get what I need, and what I need is like people. What I need is like to be really open and honest, and to somehow try to reattach with where I'm at, what I'm feeling, and where am I going. I don't know if any of this has made sense, and probably not important. For me, the important part is that if I don't tell you who I am and how I'm feeling, or at least who I am and where I'm at, how dare me expect you to know? I'm so grateful that I'm clean, and I'm so grateful that there's a way out, and that you people keep doing this so that I can come and get my needs met. Thanks.
Hi family, I'm Chuck. I'm grateful recovering addict today. I come here for a reason to recover, because I'm going through a lot of pain this week, and I need to be able to share. So if you see me talk at a lot of these, that's because I need to let go of the pain. We're talking about the one that's within. Yeah, I remember days where I couldn't look into a mirror and shave. I had to shave in the shower because I didn't like what I seen. You know, until this day I still do that same thing. I shave in the shower because I don't like what I see. You know, and that's only on some days. You know, I pray about that, and you know, it's about getting honest. You know, and my kids tell me how good I am and how great I am, what kind of dad I am. People in the program here tell me that I'm okay, that I'm supposed to have them feelings, you know. And after a few 24 hours that I've got, I don't think that it should be there the way it is. But it comes and goes, you know, and the good thing is that I know it's my disease today, telling me that I'm no good, telling me that I'm not what I should be. I'm not where I'm supposed to be after the working the program the way I have been and the little bit of time that I've got. You know, and like I said, the good thing is that I know it's my disease telling me this. And the only way I learned that is by coming around here. I had a long journey from Arizona back to the States, and I had a lot of soul searching and a lot of talking with my higher power on the way back, because a 3-day trip by yourself in a van full of memories is very hard. I did a lot of crying, did a lot of talking, didn't do much eating, didn't do much sleeping either. But, you know, the times that I got really weak, I wanted to pick up. The times to where I wanted to sleep and I couldn't, I wanted to pick up. You know, and I knew that that wasn't the answer, but something inside of me says that it would be okay. Nobody would know. You're by yourself, you're on the road. I would know. And I couldn't come into these rooms and face you people and say that I'm still clean. I would have to stay gone because I don't feel that I could come back. I'm one of them addicts that I was telling a friend earlier that I share to people that I sponsor that when you come into the doors, you better go get a machoectomy because you got to cut all that macho shit out because this disease will kick your ass no matter how macho you think you are. Well, practicing what I preach and getting that machoectomy, for me, I wouldn't have been able to come back. I would have been too macho. You know, and it's about getting honest today, you know, and I gotta be honest, you know. I mean, I love all you people very dearly. You've definitely helped to save this addict's life. You know, the things that I've heard here, the surroundings around me, my sponsor, you know, you've definitely saved my life. You've helped me to understand that the person within can stay within as long as I can keep him under control by coming to the meetings, by getting honest, telling my feelings, and sharing my strengths and hopes with the newcomers, that he will stay inside and he won't be able to get out and take me down. But you people have done a whole lot for this man's life here, and I want to thank you on behalf of me and my children, because my children told me, yeah, Dad, you need to go to that. You need to go to that spiritual thing. It's okay, we'll be all right. You go ahead. You have fun. You know, and they know the pain that I just went through. They sat there and cried with me, you know. But no, Dad, that's okay. We're going to be okay. You just go on. You got to be okay. You got to take care of yourself. You know, and that's something that they do today that they wouldn't have done over 4 years ago when I first come through the doors. Because when I used to walk into a room, that other person would walk out, and then they were gone. Today, it ain't about that. Today, it's all about hugging Dad, telling me that they love me. You know, and that's a great feeling. That is a great feeling. And that's all because of Narcotics Anonymous and you people showing me how to live. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Hi, I'm an addict. My name is Nancy. Grateful to be here with you folks tonight. It's through you people, my higher power in this program, that I'm clean today, and that I am truly grateful for. And Marcy, your jitters, they just got here, and they really shouldn't be, because you're all family. You know, you're all here with me. Feelings. I don't know about anybody else, but that's what I used to medicate what I used. And I used, and I used, and I used for 20 years. And I think all of us that are addicts, at least for myself, I can only speak for myself, I know that I seem to have real intense feelings, and when I have them, they're real intense. They're love, hate, rejection, acceptance, you know. All those little character defects that I try to deal with every day on a day-to-day basis. And I guess I still try to mask them in certain ways, you know. Most of my feelings come from my lack of self-acceptance. But I'm working on that every day, a little bit more, and come to accept who I am. And I'm not perfect. I'm not the best person in the world, and I'm not the worst person in the world. I'm just another person, you know, and that's okay today. And it is through coming to this program and a place like this that I can feel better. I'm grateful for this turnout. I mean, I don't think that there's this many people at the first speaker meeting we had 3 years ago. Didn't seem like it anyway, but I know that there was. It really has grown. We Grow with Love is an excellent convention, and I feel really close to the people here that I've met. And those of you that I haven't met, come up and give me a hug. I love hugs too, you know. I don't get my share of hugs anymore. We've gone through a lot of conflict and disharmony in my area at this time. So I was looking forward to coming here and getting some recovery from other people that I'm not getting where I'm going, you know, at the meetings I'm at. But I still go to those meetings because I need to be there whether I'm getting anything out of them or not, because there may be one thing one person says that's what I need to hear, you know. And just the plain fact of knowing that I'm going to a meeting, whether it's 3, 4, 5 times a week, I still got to go, you know. I don't care that I've got a few 24 hours in this program because I need the meetings. That's what's kept me clean. I need you people. As far as the stranger within me, I had definite A, B, C, D, different type of personalities. It didn't matter. You know, our book talks about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, you know, and I was definitely there. The more drugs I did, the more Hyde-ish I became, you know, to the point where you don't leave your house for 3 days and you just peek out the door, you know, and you couldn't look anybody in the eye, and you were, you know, you didn't want to take a bath, and there was just all kinds of things that you just didn't do because you couldn't do them, you know. And I know that when I went through treatment, they made me make a list of all the things that I did that day, and sometimes my list was I brushed my teeth and took a bath, and that's all I could do. You know, basic, fundamental things today that I don't think about, you know. And but I still have to sit and make lists when I get to the point that my life seems like it's shit or bad things happen. You know, I have a friend back home, I say, well, why does this shit have to happen? I'm not a bad person. Just because it happens. You know, you talked about being normal. God, what a concept, you know. I don't know if I could ever deal with being normal. I can just deal with being different. Normal is a setting on a washing machine. That's what I've heard. Sometimes I need to just wash myself in and out a little bit. I do enjoy finding the different facets of my person, and I do allow them to come out. I have a lot of different talents and a lot of things that I can do. And sometimes I share them with people, sometimes I don't. You know, that is ultimately my choice. You know, unfortunately, I still try to hide behind a wall that I build because, like I've heard before, I'm afraid to let you see who I truly am. You know, that little child in me that I'm afraid to be accepted, and I can't accept myself, so how can you accept me? You know, but by getting up here and saying just the fact that I am afraid and that life will get better if I just believe. I mean, my higher power works so much for me to get here and for things to work out, and these unrealistic expectations I put on myself and these projects I started, it all got accomplished because I just kept praying every day, God, help me get this done. I believe in you, you know, work your will through me and everything's going to turn out. And the more that I surrender, the better my life gets. And I'm kind of hard at that because I like control. That's one of those emotions I like. And that's real foreign for me to just let somebody else have the reins and have the control. But it sure works a lot better when I do. And I'm glad that you're here, and I can see the faces of the people that I know and those that I don't. And keep coming back. It works when you work it. Thanks.
Hey everybody, my name is Len. I'm an addict. You know, I've had all those feeling things that all of us have been talking about here this afternoon. The crying things and stuff, you know. I started crying one time. I sponsored John. John can't cry. I cried once. I cried for 18 months. I didn't stop. And it felt good. It felt real good. But I want to talk a little bit about that stranger inside. I seem to be one of those 95%ers, you know. 95% of the time, I'm happy. I'm happy all the time, and I really feel good. And I think it's important to say that when you feel good. You know, it's okay to feel sad when you're feeling sad, but, you know, we need to know that there's a lot of happiness and joy in being clean. And about the only time that I really feel that other part is the 5% that I'll play with it. You know, I'll pull it out, take a look at it, touch it, and be burnt a little by it. you know. But when I'm not experimenting like that, I'm really pretty happy on a daily basis. I looked inside me and I found that stranger that was inside me, but that stranger was a nice guy, and I didn't know that. You know, I had those fears. I thought that he was evil and that would be the type of an individual that you wouldn't like. You know, in fact, I was certain of it. But that was the person that was walking around in the streets. You know, that was that person who rubbed you wrong, you know. But I found on the inside that that I was that individual that God had created years ago, and that I just did not allow out, you know. I didn't have to be the individual you wanted me to be when I looked inside myself. I didn't have to tell you I liked you because I thought you would like to hear that I liked you, that you thought that would be a nice thing to be told. I simply found myself telling the secretary at work that she looked nice today, and telling people's children that they were cute, and that I enjoyed their company, and the more I done it, the more it came out. It was like that 18-month crying thing. For the next 18 months, I don't know if it was there. I said it, and I didn't say it to be facetious. I didn't say it to be overly joyed. And I talk sometimes about a blending process. We were talking about today, Kathy and I, about chocolate milk. You know, you put the syrup in there, and you never know when it becomes chocolate milk. You just start stirring it, and all of a sudden you have that drink. You know, well, you never know what's inside you until you just start stirring it, and then it comes out. You know, and it feels good. And I love this place here. I love coming back to the convention. It's growing every year, but it seems like a lot of the people that was here right from the start keep coming back, and seeing the pictures that Nancy brought today brought back a lot of memories from earlier conventions here. And I too feel like it's a retreat instead of a convention. You know, I like the closeness of all of us eating together, sleeping together, sharing together, and being together. I just wanted to say that I feel great and I'm happy to be here. Thank you for letting me share.
No, no, it's not. My name's Tom. I'm an addict. I'm really grateful to be here today. I was sitting in the chair listening to Chuck a while ago and had a little emotional outburst there. I have a lot of gratitude today. A lot of what was going through my mind is, kind of going over. I'm coming up on that 4-year mark, and it just amazes the hell out of me. It's through these rooms, coming and seeing people I don't even know, but I can walk up and give them a hug, and they can do the same for me. Part of what was running through my mind is good. I want to put him on a pedestal and say my Savior is here today. He's a good friend, my sponsor. I was told, when I was in treatment, they said, get a sponsor. And I said, hey, would you be my sponsor? And he said, well, sure, here, take my number. He was glad to do this for me. And he's been there a lot for me, along with many different people, I can go into the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. A lot of times, Tom wants to put up the old mask and smile and be happy all the time. And I know I can't always be that. I have a bunch of emotions which I'm still learning how to deal with. I still don't know how to do that. But I try. I'm grateful to be here today, that's all. Thanks.
Hi, I'm an addict. My name is Sherry. And I was sitting here coming to this meeting talking about feelings and the stranger inside. One thing I've learned since being in recovery is that I'm darn glad to be able to feel today. It's for years, ever since I was a child, I never knew how to feel except for hate, anger, and fear. Today I'm learning how to walk through the fear. Right now I just walk through that fear, getting up here, walk through the fear, and I have a sponsor that thank God I have a sponsor, and thank God for this fellowship, because that's who's teaching me to walk through that fear, talk about my feelings and not stuff them. Just these last 6 months have been living life on life's terms. I didn't ever realize in all my life living life on life's terms would be so hard and painful. And I'd talk to my sponsor about it and share my feelings, and she'd say, just feel what you're feeling. I would ask, how do I feel it? I don't even know what I'm feeling. And she would remind me to just be grateful today that I can feel. That I can feel the joy, I can feel sad, I can feel depressed, and I don't have to use over any of it today. I can go through whatever I need to go through today and not have to use. And that is great for me. This week I've had a moment of real self-centered, self-righteous, expecting things to be my way, and sometimes coming to meetings and talking to people and sharing with people brings me back to reality. That's what I need. And this is my first year here, and I'm so glad I came. I'll be back next year, I'm sure. It's not very far from where I live, and just the closeness that you feel from people, and that's another feeling. And walking down this path when nobody knows about it, there's a tree down there, it looks like a cross. And it feels real spiritual just to stand there and look at it. And the stranger inside, what I'm understanding of the stranger inside right now is not understanding who I am or knowing who I am, that this program is teaching me to learn about who I am today, and how, what I like, what I don't like, what I want to be, what I don't want to be, and getting to know who I am, and accepting who I am, and liking what I am. And I thank God for this fellowship, and the love, and the caring, and the sharing. Till I come to this fellowship, I didn't even know what it was like to be hugged. I couldn't even hug people in situations that called for a hug. I could go to a funeral and not be able to hug the person that needed me to hug them because it scared me to death. I'd run like a crazy woman away from them and go out and use. Today I can go to a funeral or go to somewhere that someone needs a hug and be able to do that. I have nieces today. My sister had twins. That I can love them, I can hold them, I can just cherish every moment with them, where before that was not the most important thing in my life today. And I don't know, I thank God for this fellowship and all you people for being here today. I'm really glad to be here. Thanks.
Thanks for sharing.
Hi, I'm an addict. My name's Larry.
Hey, Larry.
I do what it means to. Hi, I'm an addict. My name's Larry again, just to get it, like I'm here still. I'm in a learning process today of trying to find out who I really am. And I think ever since I've been here, even just in life, period, I'm just trying to find out who I am. And I think just because I get a little bit of clean time and the pain that I've been through, that makes me unique. And I've learned that through my experience in just life, that everybody's just trying to find out who they really are and just trying to experience, the experience of life and trying to express that. I've learned that I'm still a child, trying to live in a big person's skin. I found out that I had about a dozen different characters, but trying to make one and trying to stand on that and stay as one character was the hardest thing I ever did in my life, and it is today. See, I'd like to prove to you that because I've been here for a couple of days that that I'm stable all the time, and that you can't touch this. You know, we had a girl up here, she's talking about her vulnerability, and everybody's speaking today at this workshop, and I'm sitting here and I'm being emotional at almost every person that's sitting here. And because I know what that feeling is. I know the feeling. And when I was walking up here and this person's talking, I'm not going to say anything about anonymity, but I was talking to a person before the workshop, and sometimes we just don't know how to ask for our needs to be met. We just don't. And I know it just crushes me. And I end up hating myself because of it. You know. And that's what brought me to Narcotics Anonymous. See? That and the uniqueness. And tell you, I still fight with it, of thinking you won't understand where I'm coming from. You don't know who I am. You know, how could you understand? You know, I'm giving myself a break today. You know, if I don't give myself a break, then it's really not. That's like breaking the barrier for me. It's like breaking the barrier. If I just don't just say that, you know, sometimes I just need to just bring it out of my mouth without having to process it, without having to go through this whole thinking process. Sometimes I just need to do things, you know, and with this unconditional love. This thing with unconditional love. Because I remember a couple of years ago, where Larry wasn't like this. And I remember the first days when I was here, and I remember how I got here. See, I got here through a prison system, okay? And I got here through a whole lot of abuse to myself and others, and I just couldn't handle Larry anymore. And somebody said something about living within my own skin. I used to talk about that so much. I was like, and I never thought I was suicidal. I never thought that, you know, not being able to relate to myself and others, that was such a bad thing. You know, I got tattoos on my skin. You know, this is the only Harley Davidson shirt that I own. Okay? The only one, and I'm only wearing it because my brother bought it for me. It's sentimental. And it's just the miracles in my life today are something so devastating. And I was talking to somebody the other day about, you know, guns. You know, and guns to me are a part of my disease, for me. And they were talking about deer hunting and all these things. And for me, I could have said, yeah, I got 2 or 3 guns. You know, I go out and do this, and I go out there, and that's entertaining. That's the mask. That's that stranger within that's telling you, hey, you know, stay away. You know, it's like push you away. I don't want you to know this part of me. You know, I still have to save my face, my ego, and my image. See? And I don't want to do that today. See? And somebody, I talked to a guy last week at a meeting, and this is like a newcomer, and I learned something from him. He said that sometimes, you know, I maybe I heard it 1,000 times, but maybe it's just that moment where I needed to hear it. But he said that sometimes what you see isn't always what you get. You know, and I've probably heard that 1,000 times, but last week it just like hit right there, right at the core. And I'm not here to impress anybody. I'm not. And sometimes I act a fool. you know, because I'm in pain and I don't know how to ask for my needs to be met. And that's where, that right there, that's the stranger within. You know, I'm kicking myself again. And I start pushing. You know, I don't want you even close to me. Just get away. You know, and the people that are closest to me, the people that are the closest to me are always the ones that get it the full-blown way. You know, like you get the couple of the cuss words, or you get like the real resentments and the real attitude. And it's not the way I want people to see me. And today I'm like on this happy medium. And I'm just now starting to achieve this with my spirituality and in this program and other people that are helping me. You guys are helping me. And I'm really grateful. Lynn was talking about grateful to the people that opened the meetings when I got here. You know, and I truly am. I truly am. Because if it wasn't for those doors being open when I got here, I'd have never been where I'm at today. Never. And if it wasn't for, you know, if it wasn't for people putting up with my crap, you know, this whole time, I probably never would have been here. If I'd have walked into a meeting as a newcomer and somebody would have said, hey, you just don't belong. Or, you know, your problems are different. I don't even know who I am in the first place, man. How could I know? How could I know? I would have ran, and I never would have found myself. Thanks.
Thanks, Larry.
Thanks, everybody. Let's close this workshop with a group hug and a serenity prayer. Let the circle represent what one of us can't do alone, we can do together. Moment of silence for the addict that still suffers in and outside the circle. For the children with using parents, for the parents with using children, for the unborn child that parent is using, and also for the HIV positive addict that is suffering. Bow with the G version of the serenity prayer. Thank you. God,
grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today.
Keep coming back. It works if you live it. Got to live it every day. Every day.
You're doing good.